Hey everybody, this is Mr. Drogemeyer. Thanks for joining me for our Algebra 1 lesson videos. Today we are in Unit 6, looking at lessons 6 and 7, modeling with linear equations. And so we're going to start this one with a few vocabulary terms. So one term that they mention in this lesson is linear constraint. And basically a linear constraint just means that there is a constant relationship between two variables. So they're saying that these two variables always have a linear relationship between them. So, and that's our rate of change or our slope. So linear constraint just means constant relationship between two variables. And as we're looking at these linear constraints, we're going to determine whether a solution is viable or non-viable. Viable just means that it is a true output for the given input value. So viable means it is possible, that it is going to give us a true solution. If we say it's non-viable, then that means that we're getting a false output for that given input value. And I think after you see a few examples here, you'll have a better understanding of what we're talking about here with it being viable or non-viable. So let's jump into our examples. First, we have this first one says, suppose a lawyer charges a retainer, which is an upfront cost of $750. So that's like a flat fee that they're charging for their services. And then they're also charging an hourly rate of $225 per billable hour. So $225 per hour plus that $750 retainer. We want to explain whether 4.5 billable hours for a total cost of $1,800.50 is a viable solution. So really, when we ask if it's a viable solution, we want to know, well, if the lawyer has 4.5 billable hours, is that total cost, does that work with the information we've been given about their fees? And so if we think about this as an equation, we're taking $225 for every hour, so 225 times the number of hours. We add the 750, and that's giving us the total cost here. So we could say C of H. All right, well, in our situation here, 4.5 billable hours. So I would need to take the 4.5 times 225. And when I do that, I get $1,012.50. I would need to add that to the $750 retainer. And when I add those together, I get $1,762.50. And so when I calculate what it should be for 4.5 billable hours, I'm getting $1,762.50, not $1,800.50. And so we would say that that solution was not viable. That's not the right, that's a false output for the input value that we were given for 4.5 billable hours. So that's how we're kind of checking to see if it is a viable solution or not. In the second one, it says Aiden has 7.5 gallons of gasoline in his car's fuel tank before he starts refilling. The capacity of the fuel tank in his car is 22 gallons. We want to write an equation that relates the amount of gasoline that he purchased, which we're calling P, in gallons, and the amount of gasoline in the fuel tank A after the purchase. And so they want to know what values of P could be viable solutions here. So let's start by creating our equation. So we know that he's starting with 7.5 gallons and the capacity is 22 gallons. So our equation, A is going to equal the number of gallons he purchases plus the 7.5 that he started with. Now when we think about, so that's our equation, when we think about what the possible values of P would be, so that's really what we're talking about, our domain here. Well, we have a maximum that we can have. The most he can have is 22 gallons. Well, if he already has 7.5 when he starts, then that means that 14.5 is the most that he could put in there. So when we think about our domain, P could be anywhere between 0 and 14.5 gallons. All right, and then our last example here says that a large fitness center offers a track, weight room, and pool. Fitness center charges $29 per month for a basic membership, and there's an additional charge of $6 for each hour of pool use. The fitness center charges by the quarter hour for the pool. So that means for every quarter of an hour, that's how they charge it. It says if, but it should say if 5.8 hours of pool use, or sorry, is 5.8 hours of pool use for a total monthly charge of $63.80 a viable solution. Well, if we think about how this would be charged, we have the flat fee of $29 and then $6 for every hour of pool use. And so they're saying if we do 5.8 hours, well, if I take 6 times 5.8, I would get $34.80, which I would add to the 29, and that does give me $63.80. So first glance, this looks like this is a viable solution. However, the thing that I underlined there says that they charge by the quarter hour. And so what that means is for every, so a quarter is 1/4 or 0.25. So they're charging for every quarter hour. And so if I was in there for 5.8 hours, they're not going to charge me for 0.8. They're going to round up to the next one. So it was more than 0.75 hours. So they would actually charge me for for that full part of the hour. So instead of 5.75, they're going to round up to 6. And so this would become 6 hours, and that's going to be a different charge. So basically, this would not be a viable solution, and the reason is that quarter hour distinction that they gave us there. All right, and that's all I've got for this lesson. Appreciate you taking the time to watch, and as always, if you do have questions, please let us know. Thanks. Have a great day.